Dear friends, I'm glad to see you all. It's Wednesday, August 10th, 3 minutes past 10 Kiev time, and we start day 168 with Olexiy Arestovich. Good evening, Olexiy. Glad to see you. Alright, we have 146,000 watching us live, 26,000 clicked the like button. Thank everybody who decided to join us today. The usual ask, please share the links to this stream in your social media. Subscribe to Alexei's, to Feygin Live, and if you're watching that in English, subscribe to the Privateer station if you have not done that yet. Alright, Alexei, let's start. What happened in the last 24 hours? Let's show the map. There are no major changes on the front. They keep hitting the same targets. They're hitting us, we're hitting them. There is tactical fighting. Dementievka on Kharkov region. We continue to push from south to Izum. Nothing happening in Siversk to their success. They keep pushing, but keep failing to achieve anything. They have not moved around Peski or near Avdiivka. Yegorovka have no success. In Yegorov direction, they also tried to move, but there were more hits there with our artillery and aviation, and that helped to stop them. So, no major changes on the front today. All changes that are happening today are above the level of the battlefield. This will not continue forever. Soon we'll see changes on the battlefront as well. But the tendencies are the same as yesterday. The only thing that changed is that after the attack in Crimea on the airport, they continue with their revenge, and they're hitting a lot of civil targets in Donetsk region, Nikolaev, Kharkov region. Let's shoot civilians if we cannot defeat the military. We already know the approximate number of airplanes they lost yesterday. Our general command posted that we added another 9 to our score in this war. In the Crimean public networks, there was a mention that there are about 60 people dead and wounded. Russian military on that military airport. Well, see, the Russian side did not announce anything. Yeah, you've seen the explosion. Imagine how... This is an open field, so when that explosion of that proportion happens there, that's definitely going to cause some chaos. We suspect also it may be not exactly 9, but up to 12 airplanes totally destroyed, and the rest that are there also, they're probably not in the best flying shape right now after that explosion. Another, probably most notable loss for Russia is personnel, pilots and technicians. This is people of difficult specialties that takes years to acquire. And, you know, personally, I think something happened with the Russian military and Russian collective subconsciousness on the military side. You think because of the panic with the civilians leaving Crimea on the bridge, or it was done smart. So that event happened during the daytime. You cannot hide it, you cannot tell something else happened. And it caused the first time many of them to pause and think that this war may change not exactly how it was promised to them, that they actually may end up with a heavy defeat. And that did blink on the radar on the military forums. When they were describing the battles, the fighting near Avdiivka, Khodorkovsky, no, what's his last name? Khodorkovsky, sorry, Mikhail Khodorkovsky, sorry. I'm tired. So yeah, Khodorkovsky, current commander of Special Forces in Russia, he said that they did not have enough qualified replacement or qualified infantry, that targeting system is improper in the forces, and he needs more people to achieve goals. And Kotyonok, the Russian correspondent, that's English equivalent for kitten, is that his nickname? Yeah, it is his nickname. He also said in his reviews yesterday that they're lacking qualified infantry. So these two people are on the ideological front as well. So when that spills out into the media, that means there's a serious issue. And their attempt to throw people at our positions to kill their own persons over fortified regions. I'll tell later what we did on our side, but on their side, that's basically utilization of people. They're just grinding through what they have. And when they're starting on the third or fourth day of offensive to scream that they don't have enough people, that's a serious sign. They don't really have anybody there. Well, they have a few people left near at the beginning of the operation, so everybody who could, they're done and dead in Lysychansk and earlier. But right now, yeah, they have whatever's left. Remember, that shows again for the people, for the civilians who are not savvy in military maneuvering, that when people are concerned, when they're crying, saying that enemy is advancing, getting territory by 100 meters, by kilometer, take something, take slow villages, take small towns, but they do it even though slow. See, it's not in vain. We do have a strategy, and they were falling into our strategy, and finally they're grinding themselves to a halt. So Russian pro-Putin patriots and Russian military specialists started to realize that everything is not so perfect. Even some of their leading military correspondents started commenting that this is not the special operation we've been promised. And today also, Ukrainian security system published some of the radio intercepts of Russian military talking to their mothers, saying, "Mom, it's not a special operation. This is just a murder house. They're killing us here." So this is a classic. It's not even a break, but it's probably a first cut in the psyche of those who believed in Putin's victory. Later, this cut will turn into a break, and then at some point it'll really break and fall apart. And that's when the war will become unpopular. And I predict that Russian troops' withdrawal and their desire to leave Ukraine territory, it will be similar to Bucha and Kiev. It will not be Ukrainians fighting with the Russians for the last soldier on our territory. It will be a similar withdrawal, because Putin's regime is still oriented mostly for the situation inside of Russia, and that will be the highest fearful point. So the moment Ukraine becomes unpopular, they'll start taking unpopular decisions and wrapping it up in one way or another. All right, let's discuss this aspect. I understand, okay, partisans, non-partisans, missile, not missile. Today there was published a video of a column of HIMARS in Romania moving to the border of one known country. It was the day before yesterday. Yeah, but it became public and viral today. Does it mean that there'll be more HIMARS? No, these are Romanian HIMARS, or American that are there. But if they're moving north, that means something, right? So they're Romanian. Do you think Romania can give them to Ukraine? It's probably not even about that, Mark. I think it's because they're showing that any motion in Transnistria will be stopped in its tracks. So yeah, I understand. Okay, that's definitely a message. But we did talk to a previous guest in a previous stream that quantity is somewhat important, right? Everybody already sees that HIMARS is a potent and effective weapon. It gives good results. But they're quantity-wise, you guys need more to convert that result into something grander, faster. It's logical, right? When you have 1, 10, 12, but what if you have 50? So, do you think the West considers that in the quantity, or Mark? No, the West is pretty rational in their decision. Pentagon mentioned yesterday that it's not about the quantity of HIMARS machines; it's more about supplying missiles in plenty. And he was commenting that $1 billion for additional ammo that in military equipment. So right now we do have enough. And if to double everything, we should have enough, right? Yeah, if to double it, we'll have 50, that should be good. But even those 2025 that we'll have it, but hang on, what if you got 60? Would it be enough? You could just put them around the front line? Yeah, then each operative direction will be supported with HIMARS and we won't have to maneuver and move them around. All right, now that's important for the viewers to see, because many of them imagine that there is one vehicle moving along the road and hitting different targets. I need to remind our viewers that the front line right now is equal distance-wise, a distance from Tallinn in Estonia to Gibraltar. So you can imagine the length of border we need to protect. You have to consider Belarus, all that direction, Transnistria, and then internal directions that you need to cover. It's not just the front with Russia, it also, possible directions from Belarus. It doesn't mean that they're preparing an attack from there, but it also doesn't mean that you do not have to be strong there. So I'm giving more interviews to the Western media now, and I'm giving the scope. The scope is the distance. All Europe from Gibraltar to Tallinn, that's an equal of our borderline, an equal of our front. Then the biggest continental war cannot be won with 20 machines, even with the perfect machines. At the same time, today's war is very different from the Second World War. One of the major differences is the media component, and it is very advanced. So psychological effect on enemy has definitely a stronger point. So Germans, for example, supplied us 3 additional Gepards, and so we have, seven of these tanks, anti-aircraft tanks. That came in the media, that did spill in the media, and right now, what is those 7 tanks? This is a possible loss of 7 Su fighters for Russia. That's the whole detachment, and the loss of a detachment in a situation where they cannot afford to lose anymore if they want to stay battle-worthy, if they want to keep any air force active, that becomes critical. Or, for example, one HIMARS destroying Antonov, destroying the dam in the Kherson region, the second river crossing option. And this is just one machine. So the quantity of equipment we have and missiles we have actually allows us to achieve our military goals. And these Gepards moving to the front will help us to achieve our goals better. Today, we have one guy who shot a Russian jet with a portable system. Good fella. So when we get these tanks out to the front, that will continue to impress Russian aviation to not even come close to our troops. So that has a serious effect. How does modern war work? You cannot throw all the remaining Russian aviation to die in Ukrainian fields, because most of them are sitting in the airfields. They're sitting in their airports. They understand that they get shot otherwise if they lift and take off. And now we're starting to hit them in the airports as well, in the airfields. So when you're sending your pilots and your advanced jets, when you send 2, you realize that only one of them is coming back. They cannot allow to have such a situation or to propel it, because they're at a critical level already, and they cannot allow continuous destruction of their air force. So right now we don't need to be equally strong on the whole front. The war also moved to the media space. 5 destroyed airplanes, great impression. So it also impresses not just public, but also the Russian command. Imagine you're a commander of Air Force in Russia. and you're getting news that you just lost one detachment. You lost the different level pilots and technicians, and the airfield is unusable, and you lost from 9 to 12 machines. What if you have another strike like that tomorrow and the day after tomorrow? How do you survive as a force? And then all of a sudden you run out of airfields in Crimea. What then you do? How many airfields are in Crimea? There are 5 more that have enemies' aviation on them. So they're potential targets, yes. By the way, Black Sea Fleet is also a real target. So imagine catching a Russian battleship unloading in the Sevastopol port. We do have eyes in the sky, we do have partisans, we do have people who inform us of what's going on. So get ready. Dear Russian occupants, there'll be a lot of safety issues in your military facilities. I told yesterday, and I'll continue mentioning it in the weeks to come. So many people did not believe for a long time, but now for that group in Russia, those who were neutral and those who were pro-Putin, now they finally start to get a small tentacle of concern in their mind that is whispering that the war may end up very differently from what you guys were expecting. And in the next few days, they'll have more reasons for concern. Trust me. Because you cannot just come and start killing other people. Sooner or later, there'll be some response to that. And they have nothing to stop us now. We will finish it. Today, Andrei Yermak, the head of the office, was giving an interview to Interfax in Ukraine. He did mention a report on the commission, McFall Yermak. I don't really like all these economic statements. They went deep in there, but basically 40% of big companies left Russia, 4 million unemployment registered in Russia by the end of 23, even with good prices and good sanctionless trade, will not be able to compensate and pay for all the expenses within Russia and economic recession. So it does appear that their economy is on continuous decline, and Commission basically described what they've done sanction-wise and how that affected them. And one of the points in his speech was that Ukraine is aiming to conclude hot conflict before winter. He would have never voiced that if that was not a collective position of the West and the military and political leadership of the country, and if it was not coordinated with the military command and presidential position, and of course Western partners. So this is an agreement. That's why he's voicing it out. And it's not too much left till winter, about 3.5 months. So the next 3 months will be pretty hot. So yeah, those hooray pro-Putin patriots, get used to that. There'll be more airfields like that every day. All right, let's dedicate a bit more time to Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. In one of the earlier streams, we discussed the perspective for nuclear blackmail. It's probably the last blackmail of that scope by explosion or destruction of one of the blocks or one of the buildings that may lead to certain consequences. So look, we do have a position of G7. It did put a statement out that Russian troops need to withdraw from the station and it needs to be returned to Ukraine, and nuclear blackmail is unacceptable. So nuclear blackmail with that hybrid approach, do you think it'll be considered as responsibility of Moscow when they're claiming that Ukraine shot up their own station? G7 already made an estimate. Tomorrow they have made a statement. Tomorrow is United Nations meeting. Russia, of course, will say that Ukraine is shooting up their own nuclear plants, right, the country that survived Chernobyl catastrophe. I think Russians will feel the pressure at that meeting at United Nations. And that'll be another evaluation of the current situation and belief in Russian propaganda. So they're fighting, they're shooting it up, interestingly. They're shooting in a way that it doesn't really destroy building, but it does create some smoke and some booms in the area. So, but regardless, this is still a nuclear blackmail. And G7 said that, get off from the nuclear plant, give it back to Ukraine. So give it back to Ukrainian military or to Ukraine. Yeah, just return it to Ukraine. Withdraw your military from there. So if Russians withdraw, then we understand there'll be no shelling, no fighting around it. And they need to remove all the explosives and ammo, right? So nuclear blackmail is evaluated as it is, nuclear blackmail. And they were called upon for to continue doing certain steps and remove their military. And G7 also made a point that electroenergy needs to flow to Ukraine. Oh, yeah, because Russian troops, they steal everything. They're trying to defer it to Russia, to transfer electricity to Russia as well. So that's a very clear statement from G7. You think that blackmail will not work? Well, if they do want a quick end of Putin's regime, they can continue blackmailing. If they want for Putin's regime to end in a couple months, sure. But if they do want to survive for maybe a year and a half in the current capacity, then they need to follow what G7 advises them. Because another blackmail like Chernobyl, that will not be forgiven or forgotten. You see, right, how he's raising stakes. Grain, nuclear, energy sources. Yep, that's what they're pushing. And they showed them. The goal of their negotiation actually was to sit down with Ukraine, to force Ukraine to talk. But G7 came back and said, GTFO, leave the nuclear plant. They do have a framework for negotiations. If they want to, they need to withdraw. All right. So let's comment on another piece of news that Ukraine got a deferral in debt payment for $20 billion with a B. And Russian propaganda loves that point that they keep peddling, saying that Ukraine people will be slaves, their next generation will be slaves, paying back the money for Lend-Lease, for military support. Mark, you had a good wording back in the day, quite a few shows back. You did mention that, no, it will be you who will be paying. It will be Russia who will be paying with Russian money. It is discussed. With your money, Volodya, take the wallet out. This is a decision made in the world, and that deferral is probably done because Ukraine doesn't have the money, right? Of course, but Putin has this money. So Russian citizens and their president, Vladimir Putin, will pay that money for military support to Ukraine and for that offensive operation. That has been decided a long time ago. That's an important thesis. Ukraine is happy to take more credits now because that's Russian money. Actually, kind of our money already. Yeah, okay, so let's take a look at the story. I apologize here. Zelensky commented right now. He's saying that the stronger our weapons are and the further the radius we can use it at, the faster we'll conclude this cruel war. So that has been voiced. There's a direct connection, and this is also an official position of the president, and this was voiced after that Crimea strike. So this is an official position, verified, double-checked, coordinated, and a position that he decided need to be voiced out. So one needs to listen to his assessment. It's quantity, nomenclature, and distance. The message is clear, right? If Russian Iskanders can reach for 500 miles, if we need to win the war, we need to be able to at least counter them at 300 miles Or should we run and try to win it with 80-kilometer weapons? So something will happen, as it appears, as it's probably already happening. Look at what's going on the front. Well, you know, the Russian side is screaming that they're piecing the missiles that flew into their targets, and they keep putting statements, no, 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 this is not HIMARS, it's just our troops smoking in the wrong place, it's safety violation. We keep discussing why they're saying it this way. They keep saying it because they don't want to continue escalating the situation. They don't really have tools to continue escalating. Nuclear question, yeah, they're quiet about that. What nuclear weapon? They already realized the consequences of that. Once again, let's follow through with the nuclear branch. So imagine Russia opens their nuclear silos and preps their nukes. There is a question then for the whole world and the G7 and nuclear nations. Whom are they going to use that nukes against? Because each missile does not have an inscription. This is only for Ukraine. So NATO will take it as a possible attack on NATO countries. Because if these idiots started the biggest war in Europe, you never know where the missile will fly. They could target Poland, they could target other targets in Europe, they could target United States troops in Europe. So they'll be taking their own measures. And very likely there'll be a different complex of measures started to prevent Russian Federation from launching these things. And that complex will be very uncomfortable for Russian president and the whole regime. And I'm sure they were given a meaning of what's going on for many times. They were told how it will unfold. So that's why all these gestures of goodwill, when they keep saying in the Russian command that we will not use nukes, we're not using nuclear weapons, this is for that audience. This is for their counterparts saying that no, 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 we're not using nukes. See, we're withdrawing our ships from certain places, we're withdrawing from here and there. Okay, so the visa situation is also unfolding. Many of them were upset, especially Russian citizens, about the words of Zelensky. And me personally, I did say that he had a good point about visas. Today, Podolyak already commented that nobody is calling upon Europe to exile those Russians who naturalized and moved away from Russia. Mikhail Podolyak already commented on that. But that story with visas, and we did warn in a few streams about that it will have a continuation. Minister of Foreign Affairs of Czech Republic also supports the decision to stop giving Schengen visas, European visas, to Russian citizens because of the war in Ukraine. So the pause of giving Schengen visas to Russian citizens in Europe could have been a very effective sanction. So that appears that the whole question is much closer than one could have thought. I understand other visas for medical treatment or immigration, they can probably stay up, but tourist visas may likely be suspended. So do you think in the next set of sanctions they can go that far? Do you have any information? I don't have information on that yet, but there is some logic. And judging by the amount of actualization and questions in this regard, it starts to become an important one. And Zelensky reflected an opinion, right? He was pretty sharp. He said that you cannot jump off from that collective blame. And the task of fighting Putin's regime is, first of all, the task for Russian citizens. So don't think you can sit this one out. This is not how the global world history works. You cannot completely dissociate with the government, with the country that you're a citizen of. Or like somebody wrote today from Russian opposition, not the first scale figure, but notable one. He addressed them, why are you screaming about collective blame? This is collective blame light. A real one is carpet bombings of cities like in Germany in the Second World War. That's collective blame. Today's is really visa decision is a very light one. President, I want to say he's a good man. He's a good, kind-hearted man. And if he said these words, they were coordinated with the Western partners. I think that he pushed for this opinion for a while, and it means that the cup of Putin's evils in this war is overflowing, even Zelensky's kind heart. And he's very generally careful about punishment and collective things and all that. But right now, looking at everything, this does overflow. All the previous incidents, now Yelenovka with the prisoners of war. Remember, you, me, and Nevzorov, we did come to the same conclusion that internal front in Russia is important, and in Belarus as well. And he just outlined once again that Russians, you are responsible for what Russia is doing in Ukraine. And if it is reflected in your tourist visas, you have to pray that that's all consequences you have. But one needs to understand that since this discussion is open, it will not be folded quickly. This is not a media hype. This is a question of politics, calculated politics that likely will be realized in one shape or another. Because, Mark, if it's just tourist visas, they should be happy, you know. Won't go to Europe. You can survive. You're a big adult people. You have a passport of this country, you claim some responsibility for country's actions, personally. I need to say, especially for our Russian audience, that the longer this war lasts, 6 months, year, I don't know, the further this situation will unfold with sanctions against citizens. And if you imagine that all this will pass by, fly over, it will not. I'm saying that with a certain regret in regards to those who do not deserve these restrictions. But I did have streams before the war, one after another, when I was talking that situation is getting dire, and those who can leave should leave, because it is getting worse and worse inside in Russia. And I understand that those in opposition who were doing everything they could to prevent war, to stop that regime, I remember our peaceful marches for peace against war back in the 14th, at the first stage of this conflict. So we will help people like that who are active. I'm taking some responsibility upon myself, and those people I'll help to get visas regardless of restrictions. Trust me, I can do that. But as for the rest, as for those who supported Putin or were on the fence, they're not coming to this new beautiful world. This is inevitable punishment. So over 400,000 people are watching us live. Please continue clicking the like button, sharing that stream in your social media, and subscribe to Feigin Live and to Olexiy Arestovych channel. In the description to this video, you can go and subscribe. And of course to the privateer station. We do have a stream tomorrow, right? Thursday? Yes, we do. Great. Okay, so we do have a stream on Thursday. Good conclusion. Somewhat good conclusion. See, we do have new designs for our merch. This is a tough one. This one is called HIMARS and Javelin. And light notion at the bottom of Feigin Live channel. If you don't recognize, the one with the javelin is Arestovych, and the bigger man up front with the cigar, that's me. Behind us, it's a HIMARS machine. I think that's a pretty cool design. Wearing that is probably enjoyable and also not exactly safe depending where you are. Also the second design without colors. So Ukrainian store already has this design. You can buy that. But there will be everything. There'll be bags, totes, aprons. I think they'll put that on any kind of wearable you want to buy. So there'll be a see-through, black and white, and a colorized one. Here is a girl who made this design, Daria Kupnaya. Here she is in the goggles and glasses and bicycle helmet. She is the author of that beautiful design. She is a great artist. She is also, I think, from Kharkov. We did post some of her works on the NFT page, so if anybody needs additional help regarding digital art, please turn to her Instagram. And of course, everything that will be sold in stages will continue pushing this help to our charity recipients. We'll be giving these means directly to the families of people who suffered during this war. So please continue supporting us. I think it'll be good. Answering the question, if somebody may have whatever Arestovych has on his t-shirt, we do not have that design. It's too exclusive for our store. Plus, also, I'm not in that picture, so I don't know which amplua should I be in that t-shirt. So bye, HIMARS and Javelin for now. See you tomorrow. Thank you, Olexiy. Thank you, viewers. Please share links to that stream and subscribe. Tomorrow at 10 Kiev, we'll continue our conversation about this war. Goodbye.